Irrational Confidence Podcast. The top 25.
Honorable mention.
It is the Memphis Tigers.
It's time to get after it.
They're 10-3 last year.
They have 8 transfers coming in on defense. Seth Hannigan, guys, remember the name. This team could go 11-1 and win the A's.
They're 5-0 on the road. This team. All right, Fresh, let's go to our next team. This would be our 29th team in our top 30 ranking. It is the Memphis Tigers out of the American Athletic Conference. They're 10-3 last year. Memphis, heck of a year by them. Fascinating, very fun offense to watch, folks. If you did not get a chance to see this offense, it's a great one to see. Their 3 losses last year. Missouri, top 10 team, and remember, folks, if you go back to last year, Memphis played that Missouri team uber tough, like uber tough. That's a 7-point ball game there. They lose at home to Tulane. Tulane has been a great team there for a while there, and then SMU with them throwing the football all around on the yard there. I'm intrigued, man. I'm really intrigued about this Memphis team. Fresh, what are your thoughts about them?
Oh, man, I just mentioned Boise State with offense. The same thing is with Memphis Tigers. Offense. Seth Hannigan, guys, remember the name. If you haven't already heard it, fantastic quarterback. One of the best quarterbacks in the country, not just group of 5 or power 4.
Right.
He can do it. Last year threw for 3,800 yards, 32 touchdown passes, also ran for 5. And then as we get, everyone loves to see, all right, who are the next up and coming receivers? Who's going to be that 3rd, 4th round receiver in the NFL draft in a year or two? That's going to be the sleeper, air quotes. Rock Taylor.
Yep.
Demir Blunt-Cumsey. Say it 5 times fast. You're going to love it. Just call him Blunt from now on. But combined, 69 and 53 receptions last year, respectively, 1,000 yards and 900 yards, respectively, and 11 combined touchdowns. Giving another year with their quarterback, probably adding some more layers to that passing game, I expect them to continue to keep evolving as they move forward and even pile on those numbers that they had last year, really become household names across the country and in that AAC. Another weird thing that I kind of looked at was they knew they had to build a defense and so kind of support for this offense. Right. They have 8 transfers coming in on defense.
Right.
This is going to be, you hopefully have depth, but you're going to have a whole new roster of guys getting communication issues. So early in the year, how fast do those guys, especially in the linebackers and secondary, situations, communicate to each other in checking off and coverages and bringing down into the box? Where's that going to really filter itself out? If you can get that squared away early, it allows them to blend, but really has the defense gel with all the new guys coming in.
Well, the interesting thing for me, Fresh, is that this defense, you talk about the defense that's coming in there, and they still have their holdover, their linebacker here is Chandler Martin. He's a sophomore. He finished his sophomore year. He's coming in as a junior this year. Kid was their leading tackler. He's an absolute beast over there. Also has been one of their best guys in coverage. Picks up, gets the ball. He's got a nose for football, and it's going to wind up probably with all those guys coming in and having the 8 transfers in there. I would highly expect Chandler being the team captain over there, being that voice on the field on the defensive side of the football there. For me, it's going to come down to, again, you talked about the wide receivers, great with them, but who's going to be the guy? You lose Blake Watson, all right? Blake Watson goes off to NFL. He's going to wind up with the Denver Broncos. And again, I know everyone, we've talked about this before. I legitimately do not like the saying next man up, because the thing I hate, I understand the premise behind it. I understand the thought process behind it. But the reason why I don't like the next man up mentality is because it takes away with how much value the guy in the front of the line had. You take a look at what Blake Watson did. 1,100 yards on less than 200 carries there. He used their 3rd leading receiver. You talk about Blake Cumsey, and he had just as many catches as him out of the backfield for a 9-yard average, 3 touchdowns there. That's not easy production to match. And again, your coaches are always going to talk about, oh, well, we have this guy in the pipeline coming up, and it's the next guy up once these guys leave. That's part of college football. I get that. But that makes it sound like it's so easy, and it's not. And especially with Memphis here, because this schedule, when I'm looking at Memphis' schedule, Fresh, this is a manageable schedule here.
Very.
And really, you're looking at week 3. They got to go to Tallahassee, play Florida State. And guys, Memphis put a scare into Missouri. And I would say Missouri's a better team than the Seminoles. It's again, Florida State will be favored in that game. And I'm not saying Memphis will pull that upset, but that's not going to be an easy game for the Seminoles there. So I need to see them do that.
And I kind of think it's a great timing for that ball game too.
Right.
You open up in Ireland. They have a night game during Labor Day weekend versus Boston College. Then the next week they get Memphis. This is a chance for the Tigers, even if you don't win, go out there and show up. Because if you go out there and put on a show and you lose a close game like 10 points, 14 points, even keep it close and make it an eventful ball game, you're going to gain some serious attention and all eyes on you. So it's a chance to really measure each stick for Ryan Silverfield and the Tiger offense and the Tiger team.
Right. And you look at Memphis. Memphis was 5-0 on the road last year. I mean, I know the Missouri game was a neutral site game, but natural road games there. They're 5-0 on the road. This team is not scared to go into tough environments and play. Again, I don't think that they're going to, if they beat Florida State, could we be looking at an undefeated Memphis team? I think it's a question we got to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I got them that will set the bar right there.
Right. I got them at 11. I got them at best case scenario 11-1 as their ceiling for me.
Well, I kind of look at the schedule, like you said, manageable. It's how they're going to finish.
Right.
If you want to win the AAC title, we saw last year, there was 3 teams in that conversation down the stretch, SMU, them, and Tulane. You've got to find a way to just grind it out. If you're anyone trying to get for a conference championship, you've got to find a way to grind it out down the stretch in November. Be remembered in November. At UTSA, host Rice, host UAB, and at Tulane, the last 4. Where's your team there? Have you already peaked and you're kind of dealing with injuries or just really tired? Or are you still increasing and getting better and getting toward the pinnacle, but you haven't reached it yet? Always keep adding on something. If they're there in the conversation, if they can finish off that stretch right there, it puts them in a great spot to finish high note and win the title. But how they finish those last 4 games against some quality football teams for the AAC level is going to be a real test for them coming down the way.
So the 4-game stretch I got here, Fresh, hang tight for me. That I actually have early in the season. While you go the back end of the season, I'm going actually into the front end of the season. Troy's not an easy team. Again, I think you'll be better than Troy. But again, if Memphis is looking ahead to that Florida State game, and then on top of it, you get all amped up. You're playing, top team in the country there. And then you got to go up to Annapolis and play Navy. And Navy is not, with that triple option, it's not an easy team to prepare for because you don't see the triple option very often. Then you close it off with Middle Tennessee. Again, not a huge juggernaut there, but I think that there's so many possibility of traps that college kids can get kind of caught up into in that moment and preparing for the next week's game. That's why I got that 4-game stretch.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those weird where it's a manageable schedule. There's no man, I can't believe we're playing 2 of those teams back to back. Right. But there are potholes. There are ominous moments where you've got to stay focused. You cannot get distracted with the overall agenda. Just one game at a time. Because when you start thinking and looking ahead on the schedule, that's where you get tripped up. You mentioned the ceiling. This team could go 11-1 and win the AAC and only lost to Florida State. That is possible. I think that's, I'm comfortable with having that as a ceiling. This team, if they stay focused, they have the talent to outscore people. And in the end, college football, you put points on the board, you should be okay.
Right. What's your floor with them?
8-4. It comes down to points where just guys lose focus or, we hate to see it because we want to see the greatest athletes, but what if injuries come into play? Where's the depth on this team? And if those come into play, that's just you're struggling to get through some of the tough ones.
Right. And I think that's the huge difference between the group of 5 and the Power 5 teams. Because the first 2 teams we've talked about here, they have players on their front line that would most Power Five teams, I would say like 80% of Power Five would take those guys on their team. It's that if those guys go down, a Power Five team has these top end recruiting classes that that they have the wealth of talent behind them, and the Group of Five teams don't. So I'm with you. 8-4, even 8-4 is a stretch for me. I like this. I like this Memphis team a lot. I really want to say. Actually, I'll say my floor for them is 9-3.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ghost of Elvis is walking in Memphis right now. So
All right.
I'm going
Give me some
9-3.
BL3 Blues. BL3 Blues and some barbecue.
Yep.